You were inside and you actually have been through all of these hearings. Tell our viewers who are tuning in right now, how different was the energy today versus on some of the prior hearings that you've been to in this case?
Well, you were too kind. Thank you for having me on, Katie. I really appreciate it. It was pretty much a typical day. It was a slog. The morning was taken up with arguments and motions, a flurry of motions from both sides, but mostly the prosecution. Trump had some wins. The Access Hollywood tape will not be admitted, but they will be able to talk about it. That will be a problem for him. No E. Jean deposition, which was incredibly damning to Mr. Trump, where he said, stars can do it. And do you consider yourself a star? Well, yes, I do. And no allegations of sexual misconduct that came up after the Access Hollywood tape. Those Molyneux women, similar prior bad behavior, they will not be allowed in. So that was essentially a good victory for Mr. Trump. However, for the prosecution, they are able to explain the entire scheme with the National Enquirer. Michael Cohen, Donald Trump, and David Peck are all conspiring together to have this discussion. And number one, to keep stories of Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal out of the news, but also planting stories attacking his 2016 opponents, Senator Cruz, Senator Rubio. Other than that, it was basic, a real New York jury, people from Sutton Place, Upper West Side, Harlem.
Sure.
One gentleman said he works at Shakespeare and Company, listens to NPR. That was typical jurors for Manhattan.
Yeah, so Adam, let's focus on Donald Trump himself. That's what a lot of us want to know, including me. Talk about what he looked like. Talk about kind of how his body language was. Did he say or do anything that was particularly noteworthy? I mean, again, this is day one of many days of trial. Guy's not young. And you said it was a slog, but you know what? It's going to be many days, many hours of trial.
He's 77. He looked absolutely exhausted. There were periods where he leaned back, his mouth was agape. There were periods when I looked closely, I used binoculars, and he had his eyes tightly shut. Now, I don't know whether he was listening with his eyes closed or sleeping, but he was dozing off at various periods. Having said that, he was also at points very involved with Todd Blanche, directing him what to say, very engaged in conversation. In fact, there were points where if there might have been a moment of nothing going on in the courtroom, he would make Todd Blanche actually laugh, like chuckle.
Todd Blanche is his lawyer, right, Adam? One of his lawyers is Todd Blanche, right?
And to the point that Todd Blanche felt compelled to cover his face because he certainly didn't want to be seen as cracking up in the middle of such a serious case.
Wasn't that, Adam, didn't that come across as disrespectful, though, to have the two of them chuckling to each other in the midst of a criminal trial?
It wasn't going on when Mershon was on the bench and things were actively happening. But when there were moments where maybe Mershon stepped out of the room or nothing was going on, they had an ongoing back and forth between Todd Blanche and Donald Trump. He was really focused on Blanche and not so much on his other attorneys, Emil Beauvais and, of course, Susan Nichols.
So, Adam, talk about what it was like, because 96 prospective jurors were brought in. That's a lot of jurors. They filed in behind him, from what I understand. So Trump's looking forward at counsel's table, at the judge on the bench. But behind him in the pews, these 96 jurors come in. And then when the inquiry is made, how many of you cannot be fair and impartial? Almost 50 of them raised their hand. Did Trump actually visibly react at all to those throngs of people raising their hands saying they couldn't be fair and impartial in this case?
There didn't really appear to be a visual reaction, but he did stand up and turn around when they did walk in. And mostly there were a lot of white women and a sort of smattering of other people who left. But again, the people that were left, pretty much common. One gentleman who was left on the witness stand said, no one is above the law, not a president, not a former president, not a janitor. One woman said she watches Al Jazeera, and that sort of stood out among some of the reporters. But again, typically it was New York Times, Wall Street Journal, maybe a podcast here and there. One gentleman said he listens to the NPR when he wakes up, when he gets in the car, and when he takes a shower. So, it's a typical 70% of Manhattan jurors tend to be liberal, if not more. That might be on the low end.
Yeah, Adam. So we're going to pull up the full screen right now so our viewers can see this. You had some really interesting notes at the beginning of the day. We played the sound, Adam. Trump saying in the hallway he's proud and honored to be in court today. But you noted it certainly didn't look like that way based on the look on Trump's face. Trump looked like he would like to be anywhere else but here. Talk a little bit more about that, Adam. Give us a little bit more color about why it looked like Trump, although he likes to say certain things, maybe his poker face is not so good.
Yeah, he really looked exhausted. He's got bags under his eyes. I looked after he opened his eyes. They were red and bloodshot. When there were rulings against him, he said, he just threw up his arms. He was exasperated. Todd Blanche asked, could he go to his son's graduation? He was denied that. Can he go to the Supreme Court hearing, which is so critical? He was denied that. He was really losing on a lot of those counts. And he was just throwing up his arms and just sort of like this, just really exasperated that this is going on, that he has to be here. And in fact, there was one moment at the very end of today when Todd Blanche said, we shouldn't even be here. And Judge Merchan was absolutely outraged. You shouldn't be here. So it really, he's made those kinds of mistakes before, Todd Blanche, where Merchan has reacted pretty quickly. And Merchan is, he's holding tight. There were no outbursts by Mr. Trump today. Today.
Yeah, Adam. Yeah, so I want to stay with that though for a second because you've been through other trials with Donald Trump where he has had outbursts, E. Jean Carroll trials, Trump Organization trials, the New York AG trial, right? And just as a footnote, Judge Merchan, he presided over the 2022 Trump Organization criminal case. So you've seen Trump in court many times. There's a certain kind of line that he ends up crossing inevitably. But in this instance, Merchan's been very serious about that expanded gag order. Talk about what Donald Trump looked like when Merchan was setting a hearing for the violations of that gag order, because the DA's office made it clear they want to hold him in contempt of court.
Yeah, and the district attorney wants to fine him $1,000 for each violation, which is $3,000. I spoke to Michael Cohen during the lunch break, and Michael Cohen felt that was absolutely outrageous, that $3,000 certainly doesn't do anything to someone like Donald Trump, who won't be afraid to go ahead and act out again. And then we get to the point to what end, where will this go? What will it take for Judge Merchan to actually sanction him in a way that is effective, i.e. a more, a bigger fine, potential jail time? What will it take to get him to stop attacking witnesses, potential witnesses, Judge Merchan's family? We'll have to see.
Adam Brees, I want to thank you so much. Listen, I know you've had a really long day. I know the viewers that are tuning into this live stream are so grateful. You will be, within reason, every day at this trial, providing us with the insider's view. And Adam, you're going to have to come back and make sure that you keep us up to speed. And in the meantime, I want to personally thank you for your hard work. I know that you, my other colleagues like Lisa Rubin, you guys have been logging the hours and really making a difference. So I'm grateful for you, Adam Reese, for joining us right now. Thanks so much for being here.
Hey, everyone. MSNBC has a new and improved app. You'll get real-time alerts and analysis, live blogs, in-depth essays, video highlights, and the best 2024 election coverage. Download the new MSNBC app. Here's how to do it. You tap on the App Store on your phone. You hit search on the bottom right corner. You type in MSNBC. You click on the MSNBC app. You click on Get or the cloud icon and enjoy it.